For all of you joining us right now, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time zone you're in, wherever you're currently located. We very much appreciate you joining us here today. We have an exciting panel of really good content to share with all of you. So today's session that you are a part of is Growing Your Career as a Black Professional, Tips and Tricks with BRel. So I will be introducing all of our lovely folks here that will be speaking to all of you today. So first, let me introduce myself. My name is Kamal Surmi. I am the Associate Product Manager at Relativity. I'm also a leader in our BRel CRG, which is our community resource group. So if you've ever heard ERGs, it's similar to that. So CRGs are our community resource group, and BRel is Black at Relativity. So this is one of our CRGs that I am a part of as well. So just some introductions. If this is your first time or if this is your first interaction with Relativity, I'm going to tell you a little bit about what Relativity is and why we are all here today. So what does our software do? So Relativity is an end-to-end e-discovery platform that is mainly designed to help organize users' data. So by utilizing this data, our clients, we have law firms, corporations, government clients that use our software and utilize this data to help with litigation, investigation, compliance projects, and many more things that allow the software to help them accomplish their goals. So what we do with this is we have this platform that our clients are able to solve complex problems that they have. So we solve a lot of challenges. So some of the challenges could be, for example, maybe there's a particular case that's going on and they want to be able to organize millions of documents and be able to sift through that efficiently. So that's where Relativity software comes into play, where they utilize this. So it's used by thousands of unique organizations. It helps reduce risk and helps control costs associated with managing all of this information. So at Relativity, Relativity has been around since 2001. It's about 1,500 plus employees strong, and it's fast growing. It's used by 300,000 plus enabled platform users. We have our Relativity Fest events, which is our biggest event that we host for our clients, where we talk about all of the cool things that our software is doing, all the different aspects of what the software can do, and kind of look ahead to the future. And also too, we have a lot of developer platforms and partners that we work with to be able to customize Relativity to their need. Because one of the cool things about Relativity is even as a software, it is highly customizable. So we have super talented developers, both internally and externally with our clients that work with the software to be able to navigate and utilize it to help them do what they need to do. So Relativity is available in 49 countries. Relativity One, which is our cloud platform, is available in 14 countries and growing. This is fastly growing. So it's utilized all across the globe. It's global right now. We started in Chicago, which is our main headquarters, but we're in New Jersey, we're in London, we're in Poland, we're in Hong Kong, Germany, Melbourne, as those are listed here on the screen. So it's definitely a vastly used software, and it's only growing from here, which is very exciting. So to really sum all of this up, our goal and what we help clients accomplish is to be able to organize data, discover the truth, and act on it. And this is really our mantra. And what we mean by that is, once again, when you're dealing with all of this data, it can be really complex. We help you organize all this information, look for what you need to find, and actually do something with it so we can make impactful decisions with whatever cases or projects that our clients are working on. So also a huge initiative that we have here at Relativity is IDB, which is Inclusion, Diversity, and Belonging. So we are very passionate about making sure that IDB is a key component at Relativity, and something that we focus highly on, which this program is part of that initiative as well with our community resource group. So inclusion is saying that I am here. So when you feel welcome and part of a group, you're seen, heard, and treated fairly, which is very important to make sure that inclusion is a key portion of being at any company. And it's especially important here at Relativity. Diversity, understanding that we are all unique, whether it comes to race, gender, age, disability, sexual orientation, religion, experience, all of the above, that all that is accounted for, because all of us, we bring our full selves to work. And that is a part of us, whether we're at work or we're at home. So it's important to encourage and celebrate the diversity that we have. and increase the diversity that we have within Relativity as well. And then all of that really boils down to a sense of belonging. So this is just understanding that I am accepted for who I am, which is a very key component as well, which is important to ensure that people bring their authentic selves, or at least they're encouraged to bring their authentic selves. And this is really where the magic happens, as listed there. So IDB is a huge initiative, and as a part of that, that's where BRel, Black Relativity, once again, I'm a leader here at BRel Black Relativity amongst my colleagues as well. There's a bunch of us that really strive to make sure that specifically with the Black community, which is what we focus on, that not only do we bring more Black talent within Relativity, but also the employees that are here are feeling that sense of belonging. So it's about making sure that when you're here, you are also supported and you are able to do the best work that you can be and also be happy in doing all of that. So that's a huge, huge initiative for BRel. And we're happy to have an event like this, which is part of it, to be able to share information and grow from that standpoint as well. So at Relativity as well, we have a lot of featured positions. So I know some of you, if you're interested in being a part of Relativity, we're always looking for talented folks like all of you. So we have a lot of positions that are available. We'll be sharing a couple of these things in the chat as well. But there we have our AI product marketing position. We have a payroll manager position, program manager position, among many, many more. You can find out more about these on our career page on our main relativity.com website. And also too, we have our Relativity Fellows program, which is a very, very important initiative. If you're interested in learning more about our Fellows program, I know we have a couple folks here that have come from our Fellows program as well that are in here. So hi to all of you as well. You can check that out. Also, we'll post that in the chat. Learn more about the Fellows program if you have any interest, or if you have someone that would be interested, definitely send that their way. So in order to keep touch with all of us and to be able to access this information, or if you want to contact us or learn more, you can always hit us up on all of the major platforms. So we are on LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, all of the different aspects. So definitely follow Relativity. And if you have any questions, you can always reach out to us. Now, with that said, to the main event for why we are all here, I would like to introduce our lovely group here. So we have our moderator, which is our Relativity's own Jonathan Hill, who will be moderating this talk about tips and tricks with BRel. That includes Darrell Bonner, Karima Campbell, and Will McNeil. So with that said, I will hand it over to Jonathan. Take it away.
Come on. I mean, I don't know how to follow, but I appreciate you, brother, for setting the stage. Thank you so much. I'm really excited to lead today's conversation and facilitate this discussion around how do we all accelerate ourselves as Black professionals. I love that, Kamal, you touched on IDB and that being the part of authenticity and the DNA that Relativity has. But what is DNA? What is authenticity without the people and the stories? So that's what we're going to hear about today. You're going to hear from some amazing panelists who I, interestingly enough, have a deep relationship with just about all of them. But before we really kick things off, and I see this as my own personal fireside chat, I love to give them an opportunity to tell you about themselves and their own career journey. So how about we start with you, Darrell? Tell us about yourself and really how you got to where you are today.
So thanks, Jonathan, and to the team at Relativity. So I am a proud two-time Howard University graduate, historically Black college and university, for those of you that may not know. So I started my career as a political appointee in President Obama's administration, and those experiences helped me to realize that while I was working in education policy, I never had classroom teaching experience. So as you sort of think about the dissonance between policy and practice, and informed decision making, I knew it was important for me to become an educator. And so I taught 10th grade honors English. And while teaching, I thought about the propensity for scale, and I wanted to make even greater impact. And I saw the tech sector as a conduit for social good. And so I joined a tech company and worked in corporate philanthropy at that company for a few years. And transparently, and in the spirit of today's conversation, growing your career, I decided to take ownership of mine which resulted in me ultimately leaving that company, and has led me to where I am today. So, my career mantra has always been to have a plan, but don't be overly prescriptive. And it's served me well, and that it's allowed me not to put my career in a box. And so, the more you live, the more experiences and opportunities you'll have, the more you'll be able to lean into failure, which is inevitable. And that's how you discover purpose. And I'm incredibly blessed to be able to walk in mine every day.
Wow, I appreciate the transparency, Darrell, but I also love that you talked about having a plan, but failing first. That's the only way that you can learn from. That's the only way that we can do something about it. So thank you so much for that. Karima, please tell us about yourself and your career journey.
All right, thank you, Jonathan. So my name is Karima Campbell, and so I lead the EMEA customer success team at Relativity. I'm based in the UK, as you can probably hear from my accent. And what my team do is basically make sure that our customers in Europe, Middle East, and Africa get the most out of their relationship with Relativity. So as I was thinking back about my journey into tech, the word resilience just kept on coming up. And I realized that I've needed it throughout my entire career. I was a high performer at school, but I didn't follow the route that my teachers wanted me to follow. I decided to go to college to study something practical. And I had them saying to me, if I didn't follow their guidance, I'd probably make nothing of my life. So just basically proving them wrong has been a big motivator for me. And I realized that I needed this resilience even when I graduated from university, because it was hard to get a job straight out of university because I had no practical experience. So I had to do a move to the other side of the UK to get a job with experience. And then I was able to get that and move back to the UK. And ultimately, I don't want to sound like bragging, but I managed to move into a big four accountancy firm and achieve 5 promotions in 7 years. I then decided it was time for the next step in my career, and that's how I ended up at Relativity. But also on top of that, I really used my passion and found that the spare time that I had during lockdown, I put it into founding a company called Black Tech Queens, which is all about sharing the experiences with other Black women in technology and helping Black women to enter technology, celebrating our achievements and just really supporting each other. So that is me, and that's my journey so far.
You get to brag all you want. I mean, that's exactly what we want to hear about today, both the intelligent risks that you took, but also the way that you're paying it forward. I think that's an amazing story that we all can take away from. Will, take us home here. Tell us about yourself and your career journey.
I'll try to keep it short because my story is a long one. So I've been in tech for about the last 20 years. I currently serve as the CEO of Black Tech Jobs, where our mission is to find mid-career and senior level Black tech professionals, great places to work. But my career spans several industries outside of technology, financial services, telecommunications, insurance, where I developed a high expertise in all of those categories across multiple market segments and different size. I spent most of my adult life as an executive sales leader, as a director, a vice president, senior vice president. And I think the thing that really drove me was I'm the grandson of a sharecropper, which means my father's a son of a sharecropper, which excuses not working hard was never an option. That's also followed by the fact that I'm second generation veteran. And so I think the work ethic, progressively being humble enough to think that you never know it all so that you stay a student and you continue to build new skills, and combination with great relationships over time. And if I didn't sprinkle in a little bit of luck and good fortune along the way, I think those are all key contributors to career success, and they have been in my story.
I appreciate, Will, that you're describing grit, right? These are the different mindsets and experiences that got us to where we are. I think that's a perfect transition to our next question. Thinking about how do we develop that mindset from individual contributor to a leader of an organization. Darrell and Will, you have 2 very unique experiences. Will, I would love to hear from you. How did you develop that mindset? I mean, you talked about being a sales leader and now you're the CEO of a company.
Yeah, I think at every stage of life, as I've gotten older and older, I continue to view the world the same way I did when I was 19, like anything is possible. I surround myself with people who are significantly younger than me. So I would say 50% of my mentors are at least a decade younger than me. So I stay a student. And the grit is also having heroes and heroines who are doing amazing things. And I follow this quote from Russell Wilson, who's the Black quarterback of the Seattle Seahawks, something his father told him. And it would go in a cadence like this. And he would say to Russell, you know, someone's got to be the Super Bowl MVP. Why not you, Russ? Someone's got to be the starting quarterback, the first Black starting quarterback for the Seattle Seahawks that leads them to a Super Bowl. Why not you? And so when I think about the great CEOs of amazing tech companies, I ask myself, why not you, Will McNeil? And so I try to frame the way that I work and the way and what's possible in a really broad view, and not to attempt to be the person who puts the fences around me that says that things can't be done. I'll leave that job for someone else to attempt to do.
I love that. Darrell, I think you also have a lot to add to this conversation. I was your intern back when we were at the Department of Education, so I saw you as an individual contributor. Now I'm seeing you as a leader of one of the biggest, largest tech companies in the globe. Tell us how you developed that mindset and what that journey was like for you.
I appreciate the question, Jonathan. You know, first off, I think individual contributors are top leaders of an organization. And I think we have to just acknowledge that there's no C-suite executive that can do the work without a team of individual contributors. And so I have a mindset that how you practice is how you play, and that you should always strive to perform at the level you desire to reach, as opposed to just doing enough. So this notion that there's no task that's too big or too small, and just always being willing to roll up your sleeves. I think it's equally important for you to identify your values and principles as a leader while simultaneously understanding what the imperatives are for your business. So you don't have to wait to be a C-suite executive to demonstrate those intangible qualities, right? Things like leading with empathy. You know, I respect leaders that lead by example, and so I encourage individuals to show up as the leader they hope to be. Some other things that you can do in terms of concrete examples are you can mentor, you can provide constructive feedback to colleagues, you can participate in developmental programs. You know, these are practices that you can implement that are valued the more you climb in your career. And I think lastly, I think building authentic relationships with senior leaders is critical. So creating opportunities to see leaders in action through, you know, stretch assignments or cross-collaborative projects. Anybody can schedule a 15-minute conversation, but the most impactful opportunities to achieve a mindset shift is through witnessing leadership in action and ultimately applying what you've learned.
I mean, you can't necessarily learn what's next or what to do if you're not in the room, right? And like you said, being able to witness that up front, I think is an extraordinary experience that everyone should have the chance to get. I want to also talk about what those environments look like, what those opportunities are, and how do we identify them as you develop as a Black professional. Will, can you talk about what some of those moments and opportunities were for you?
I think relationships are such a critical part of your success, and relationships matter when you're ready. And so I think constantly building your skills, self-assessment, and having candid assessment discussions with your manager. And so not letting your manager off the hook without giving you constructive feedback has always been helpful for me too. So what can I do better? And then being clear that I love what I'm doing today, but this is not the end of the road for me. And I need both of us to be on the same page on that. And so whenever we meet, I want to know what I'm missing so that I can elevate my game. And I think a documented plan for your career that's written in pencil. And I say that on purpose because no matter what path you want to take, the opportunities for pivot are so great because in the words of Donald Rumsfeld, you don't know what you don't know until you get a little further down the road. And then you discover that, oh man, this left turn is so much more attractive for me professionally than the right turn. I think about what Darrell was saying before. In his experience with education, going from a policy strategist to a practitioner, and how that helped him elevate to doing something dramatically different today. And I would say that the assembly of those skills together put him in the position to be successful in what he's doing. So that's my spin.
I can't see snaps in the chat, but I think the metaphors we're dropping here, the nuggets, the gems, these are it. Darrell, I want to hear it from you as well. Can you talk about what those opportunities were for you that helped you develop as a Black professional early in your career?
Yeah, so I want to answer this sort of focus in two ways. One, I want to start by focusing those who currently work in tech. As we talk about identifying environments and opportunities to develop you as sort of a Black professional. So number one, my sincere hope, and this is for every Black professional that's viewing or that will see this, is I hope that you are in an environment that prioritizes your development. Because your development is single-handedly the most consequential responsibility of both yourself and also your manager. So conversations about development, they should not be hard or taboo. And I want to be clear that, development doesn't always equate to promotion, right? So development can be conversations about, or it can be in the form, of coaching or executive coaching, or it can be opportunities to shadow or stretch assignments, or it could simply be investments for you to attend external conferences and the like. So after self-reflecting, and I encourage us all to do that, should you find that your growth is not a priority, you should absolutely be concerned, and then you should take action in the best interest of yourself. And then for those seeking opportunities to join the tech industry, I always say research the company and understand, how are they investing in the development of its employees? During the interviews, you own the right to ask those questions to the recruiter and to the hiring manager. What does development look like? Ask question. The offer may be great, but it's not always about the money, because you can be accepting an offer that will stagnate your career. And so the more insight that you have will position you to make the best decision for your long-term career growth.
In fact, Jonathan, if you don't mind, I'd like to piggyback on something that was dropped. Was a big paycheck is an important event for the first check. Every check after that is your check, and it's no longer special. Your lifestyle adjusts and you normalize against it. So looking at the paycheck, don't get it twisted, it's important, but looking at what happens beyond that, and what meaning that your opportunity for growth, because I meet so many Black tech professionals who've been in tech for greater than 10 years, who've been in the same job in the same seat for 5 or 10 years or more. There is nothing more choking than career stagflation, and not being able to advance and not having a pathway to figure it out. Because sadly, technology moves forward fast. And if you're standing still, by definition, you're going backward.
Karima, we have to bring you into this conversation. You talked about your own journey, the promotions, the development, the coaching you received, and now that you're giving to others. Talk about how you identified the next steps and goals that you needed to gain, to pursue and execute on in your career growth.
Yeah, sure. I've actually been doing an exercise recently myself to just see where I'm at, see what's next for me. And so I think having a coach, or at least somebody as your sounding board, is just really important and can make a big difference, because ultimately they're probably telling you things that you already know or that you're advising other people to do, but just hearing it yourself really makes you look back. And so the exercise that I was doing, I had a stack of Post-it notes and I had to write down what's important to me. So firstly, being totally honest with myself. So what salary do I want? And as Will said, it's obviously the per paycheck is important, that's great, but at the end of the day, I need to make sure that it's something that's going to keep me happy, and every month or week or however often you get paid puts a smile on my face. Also, what feelings do I want to get from my job, and what experiences do I want to get? So really looking at the entire package and not just the initial shiny wrapper. And that, once you've done that exercise, then what did I do next? I looked and thought, okay, am I getting, is my current job ticking all of those boxes? If it's not, what's next for me then? What jobs out there would tick those boxes? Or what other routes, internally, externally, anywhere would tick that? But if my current job is ticking that box, do I want to move to the next step? If I want to move to the next step, what bridges do I need to cross? What skills do I need to fill? And more importantly, who do I need to tell? Because I think sponsorship is one of the most important things when it comes to your career, whether it's in your current role, whether it's external, just making sure that you're networking and gaining that sponsorship can really help you with your next step.
I couldn't agree with you more. Couldn't agree with you more. Will, we're bringing you in on this one here too. I mean, thinking about your platform that you have of Black Tech Jobs, thinking about how people even begin this journey, what have you seen as, you know, the right steps to take or the right goals to set up to really achieve your career growth?
I really like Hermia's model, and I would add a couple of things. One is, you know, just kind of to reiterate, getting real with what you want. That's the hardest decision ever. Do I want to be a software engineer? Do I want to be an engineering manager? Do I want to be a CIO or CTO? I always take career progression the same way you would take a weekend trip. Decide where you're going first, then come backward and say, how long is it going to take there? And what things do I need to take along with me to get to my journey and to return home safely? And so if you think about your career, what do I want to be doing? What's the compensation associated with it? How do I identify people like that I might partner with to learn what I don't know? And this is where the relationship part comes in. I would tell you that the people who make it to the C-suite, and this is a real life example that happened to me about a decade ago. I was interviewing for a job for VP of sales. I did not get the job. I went through this entire interview process. The CEO of the company invited me back. He said, "Well, don't wear a suit, don't wear a tie." This is back when we did that. And he said, "Come in, just sit in the office and let's just chat." And we just talked. And he said, "Well, you know, I like everything about you, but I've never hired anyone I didn't know." It took me 10 years to figure out what that conversation meant. So I thought, well, let's get to know each other, right? I had no concept, but we didn't have the time. What he was telling me was he never hired outside of his network. And so for the more senior you want to become, the more critical to your success. And I would say it's critical at the early stages, because the two toughest jobs in tech to get are your first job and your first people leader job. Those are two gargantuan leaps, and it is mission impossible almost to do it by yourself and just be talented, because every person you're competing with is talented. Assume that that is true. What you need that they don't have are the relationships that tip ties. So very often you can meet someone that you meet as an equal, but all things being equal or unequal, people will hire the people that they're closest to, meaning that they like, respect, or have something in common with. If you don't have any of those things going in your favor, you have a clear disadvantage to moving forward. And tech is an environment that there's a multiplicity effect to the absence of relationships. And I would tell you that in the business, so I'm an entrepreneur, this is the 7th company that I've owned, that the thing that I learned in this company that I didn't learn in the previous 6 was the importance of relationships. And I would tell you today, you know, and I've been a sales executive for most of my adult life. And what we did different in this business that we didn't do in any of the other businesses is we didn't say that we were going to go out and be the best sales organization, that we were going to be the most networked and have the deepest relationships. And so the number one source for us finding new customers is through the people that know us and the people that they know that they introduce us to. And the same thing is true when finding a job.
It's organic, it's simple, and it's human. I really appreciate that, Will. Darrell, I want to bring you back in here because we've just gotten some really, really great advice. And I'm a tactician myself, so I like to be able to write things down. Can you give our audience maybe, you know, 1 or 2 pieces of the best advice that you received as, you know, someone either looking to get into tech or someone looking to grow their career already within?
Happy to. So, you know, it's really about being in the driver's seat of your career. You can't be apathetic. You have to own your career. I think for individuals looking to get into tech, you know, I would say sort of do your due diligence to build your technical acumen. So understand the base level requirements for the roles that you're interested in applying for. And should you discover gaps, you know, do what's required to fill them. So as an example, at AWS and many companies, you know, we have a number of certifications that are industry recognized. So make connections and then ultimately sort of trust the process. And then I think as it relates to sort of growing your career, you have to stand on the confidence that others have in you. So, you know, trust yourself, your instincts, and then just go deliver. So I've never been one to sort of chase titles or prestige or money. I just do the work, and it's opened more doors than I've ever imagined.
Karima, Is this something that resonates with you that you've seen in your own career? We'd love to hear maybe 1 or 2 pieces of advice that you have for someone looking to pivot into technology or grow their career.
100% everything that Darrell just said. But in addition to that, and I think it's a theme that's come throughout all of this conversation today, relationships, network. Really build up those relationships through whether you're entering the industry or already established in it. And there's so many ways that you can build your relationships. Obviously, LinkedIn is one of the biggest and platforms that you could be using. But if you're not confident in who to reach out to, or you're just still at early stages, there's also networks out there that can help you and that can provide a safe space to ask questions and to find out more. That's a little plug for Black Tech Queens there as well. And so what I really advise everyone to do is add everyone who you're meeting today on LinkedIn, build those relationships, and then go from there, because the world is your oyster.
I am loving this conversation, probably too much, which means that I only have one more last question before I turn things over to Q&A. And this last question is a personal one for myself. Darrell, I love that you called out going to a historically Black college and university. I'm a Morehouse grad myself. And a question that I oftentimes even ask myself is, what does Black male, Black female, just Black excellence mean to us? And I love to really turn that over to every one of us panelists here to talk about what that means in maybe 30-second snippets so that we can leave a lot of time for Q&A. And we'll start with you, Karima. What does Black male excellence, Black woman excellence mean to you?
Looking at it, all of us at the end of the day. For me, I think Black excellence is, we're still either 1 or 2 of us in the room sometimes, but not letting that hold us back and really continuing to achieve our success, bringing each other along and just being us, being the amazing people that we are. That's Black excellence.
I love that. Will, what about yourself? What does Black excellence mean to you?
I will admit I struggle with this question, but I just think it's exceptionalism, executing at the highest level of your skills, in continuum, and never believing that you've got it all figured out. I mean, there's so many Black exceptionally talented people. And I think a critical part of Black excellence is for us to also amplify each other. And so I don't know that we talk about that enough. I think Black excellence very often is a reflection of individual exceptionalism, but also to, I think it's a responsibility for each of us to help elevate someone else.
And Darrell, please take us home. What does Black excellence mean to you?
Yeah, I agree with much of what my fellow panelists said. I think for me, Black excellence is simply having the courage to exist in a world that has tried to convince us that Blackness is a substandard. Black excellence is the continuous pursuit of justice. It is consciousness. It is resilience. It is trailblazing. Black excellence is ever changing. It's an ever-changing blueprint in pursuit of the advancement of not oneself, but the advancement of the entire diaspora. And so it's not a singular achievement, and it's certainly not a destination by which success is to be measured. So that's what I think Black excellence is.
I love all of those answers. If I could say so myself, Black excellence is the most beautiful part of the movie and the part that you want to turn your head away from sometimes. It's the music, the introduction, as well as that closing credit. It's every instrument, hand, and work and service that we've done to get to where we are today, but also that beautiful picture of what we have left. So thank you all so much for being beautiful artists to talk about what you've done in your career. I look forward to the continued conversation from our Q&A session here to see if the audience wants to dig into your story a bit more. And I'll pass things back over to Kamal.
Thank you so much, Jonathan. And once again, thank you so much to all the panelists. I think this is a great conversation. I can't echo enough just the importance of everything that we're saying here in terms of, kind of how to navigate this path, because it's not always an easy path, but there's resources available and there's people that have your back. So continue to ask questions, continue to learn more, continue to just strive for that Black excellence and that greatness, as Karima put it so well, the Black excellence you see here. So I think we all have that in us, and we just need to support each other and continue to do these things. But with that said, it is time for Q&A. So what I will ask is, as we're doing the Q&A here, so if you have any questions, put them in the Q&A box, and I will be pulling out some questions from there that I will relay to the panelists. So there is one question here. I don't know if it's necessarily directly directed at Relativity or for all of you here, but if you have your own take on this as well. So from Ellie, what are supporting resources available for Black students looking for their first experience in tech with internships? So I guess, like, what would you recommend folks do that are looking for these opportunities that you've seen?
Do you just want anyone to jump in, Kamal?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so I will point in at Black Tech Jobs, we have something called the BTJ 1000. We want to help 1,000 young people find internships. We think that the internship has 3 critical factors that are super meaningful for young Black tech professionals specifically. One, it's compensation, because the biggest predictor for college graduation, regardless of your ethnic background, is the financial status of the parents of the child. And so many of our students need an economic boost. Second, we've talked, I'll say it again, it will sound like a broken record, is relationships. The people you will meet in your internship can very likely be the people that will hire you, promote you, and give you opportunities later. And I can say to this day, I had an intern who 20 plus years ago has bought and sold several companies and today sits on the board of directors of my firm. And then third, just the way that we don't know who you will be as an intern. You don't know who your first line supervisor is going to become. So stay connected with him or her over time. And those things are critical as it relates to internship. So we recommend that you visit us. There's so many resources that are out there. We try to do an event once a year, so stay tuned for that, where we talk about where to find them, how to get connected. And we offer a special promotion for our clients to be able to publish internships and winternships. So stay tuned for more about that. So if you haven't already, and I'll shut it down, I did leave my LinkedIn profile out. So if you're following me and on LinkedIn, we publish that information whenever we get it, so that's available to the public.
Excellent. Thank you, Will. And yes, if anyone is comfortable with putting their LinkedIn information in the chat as well, if anyone wants to get in touch with any of us, feel free to do so. Thank you so much for that question. So good, a bunch of good questions in here. So this is an interesting one that it's definitely a question that I've had in the past, and definitely when you go into something new. But there's one question here that says, does anyone on the panel ever experience imposter syndrome? I know definitely in certain cases, especially when you're going into a new endeavor, a new role, I know this is something that I've experienced as well, even going into the product management role, which is something that I'm still fairly new at and figuring out, and it's a new world. So does anyone want to speak to that feeling, or if you've experienced that yourself?
I'm happy to go first on this, because I think all of us probably have experienced it. I experience it daily, to be honest. I think one of the ways that you can really work with your imposter syndrome is understanding that you got here for a reason. Your skills and your talent got you here. So really just remind yourself of that regularly. And to be honest with you, it's probably only you feeling that there's nobody questioning you or your abilities out there. So just building that confidence within yourself and reminding yourself. And a way that you can remind yourself is if you do like a weekly reflection on something that you've achieved that week. And just looking back on that, you'll really see, wow, I did that. So, and hopefully that can be a resource that you go to when you are experiencing imposter syndrome.
Excellent. Very well said. And I think one of the important things that I think helps me, as you mentioned as well, like you're not alone. This is something that a lot of people experience. I experience it. Karima mentioned she's experienced it as well. So it's one of those things where, once again, she said, like, just remember that you are here and there's a reason why you're here. But it's okay to feel that way as well, and to not dismiss that feeling, because it is normal. We are running hot on time, so I'm going to ask one last one, and this is kind of along the lines of Will's answer to the previous question, and that is in regards to what are some effective ways to network when you're new to the tech industry? Like, what would be recommended ways that you would, if someone's trying to get in, or if someone is new, they don't know where to start, where would you recommend people begin?
I'm happy to chime in on that a little bit. So, and I apologize, I feel like I'm saying too much. There's a couple of things that I think of. One is volume matters. So if if you graduate college and you don't have at least 1,000 LinkedIn connections, you're missing the boat. Second, find people who are doing what you want to do, and find people who make hiring decisions who do, and connect with those folks. Third, doesn't matter who you are, what level you are, you can add value to any relationship that you have. And so I always recommend any networking opportunity with leading with help. As I mentioned earlier, I've got a ton of mentors who are younger than I am. And so there's so much that you can offer and teach that you may not even be aware of to help someone else along their journey and the problems that they're trying to solve. And even if you don't, if it doesn't happen that day, always extend the offer to help. And then people are more likely to connect with you, support you, and respond to you.
Yeah, I'll chime in. I'll say, I think it's important to, again, just sort of do your due diligence to build your brand. I think that's incredibly important, and it's particularly as it relates to inclusion, diversity, and equity. I can't tell you how many times, folks reach out to me, and they say they're sort of interested in sort of, making the transition. And one of the most important things I sort of say is, like, you can lean into the work in your current role, even if it's not something that you're currently doing, right? Like, and I think the other piece is just authentic relationships. So back to LinkedIn, because I think it's a great platform, but I want to be clear that the more that you climb in your career, and I still think it's a responsibility, it's something I prioritize to make time, because I was a job seeker at one point, and I'll never forget that. So I do try to make my most concerted effort to respond and allocate time to meet with individuals that reach out to me. But I think you have to sort of be intentional about how you want to leverage that time, recognizing that, there may be an influx the higher the individual is. So again, just authentic, genuine connections is always the best, and then give yourself grace. You may not get the first offer. Rejection is a part of the process, and that's okay. And it can be challenging, particularly in this environment. I completely understand, but have a faith, and just stand on the confidence that others have in you, and you will land exactly where you're supposed to be, in perfect timing.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Darrell. I think that's perfectly said. I think that is a perfect way to close this. For any questions that we didn't get to address, we are out of time, but I did put my LinkedIn info in there as well. I know a couple different folks also, so you can always connect with us on LinkedIn if you want to learn more about us or any of the things that we talked about today, or just to connect in general to build the networks that we're talking about. So this is part of it. And I think just kind of addressing that as well is, by all of you being here, that's part of it, right? You're learning, you're growing, you're figuring things out, you're listening to other perspectives in terms of how to navigate. Like, this is where it starts. So you are already in the right place. So hopefully this continues. Just remember, you are part of the excellence. And as Karima said, once again, you do belong here. And just keep on pushing. So we're gonna go ahead and close it. Once again, thank you so much to our panelists. You are all awesome. We appreciate your time. Hope you have a wonderful evening or night or whatever time zone you're in. For all of you that have joined us today, thank you so much, and take care.